Hi everyone and welcome to this Fantasy Art Friday video. In this video I'm working on a drawing of a werewolf and I've been really excited about attempting this because it's something a bit different. I began by sketching the idea with my mechanical pencil and I decided that I wanted to have a werewolf overlapping a comic panel with a much darker background and a large bright moon. And I wanted the moon to kind of highlight the werewolf and give it a nice bright silhouette. So that was the initial idea. In terms of the pen outlines, I used my Copic Multiliner SP 0.03mm. This is extremely fine, so it gives me lots of control over the line work, which actually really helped because I wanted to spend a lot of time working on the werewolf's fur. I was using thicker outlines to kind of separate the layers, and I thought this would really help me when placing the shadows and the highlights, and would overall develop much more of a 3D effect. After spending some time on the outlines and making sure they were as smooth as possible, it was then time to start working on the colouring, and for the colouring of this drawing I used Copic Markers, starting off with the werewolf's head, and I decided to use cool grey markers for its fur, using a cool grey 3 for the base shade, and then adding cool grey 5 and 7 between each layer, also using a black marker for this, and also using it to add some dark shading to the werewolf's nose. For the colouring of its eye, I used a mixture of crimson, honey and buttercup yellow, along with some cool grey shading, and then I made sure to add some really bright highlights with my Uni-Ball Signo Broad white ink pen, and after that I decided to start adding some bright highlights to some areas of its fur, using that same pen and a white Prismacolor pencil. To add some bright contrasting colouring to its mouth, I blended between cardinal crimson and rose red for the gums and tongue, and then I used honey, buttercup yellow and cool grey 1 for its teeth, making sure to also add lots of bright highlights to this area. After this, I continued working on the rest of its body, blending between all the cool grey markers and adding some even darker shading with the black marker. I found that adding the black marker, especially underneath its head, was super helpful in adding more depth to the drawing. And it also made the highlighted areas stand out even more. I obviously wanted the werewolf's head to stand out as the most prominent feature of this drawing, so this was great for that. I'm really pleased that I spent more time on the fur around the werewolf's head, because those thicker outlines helped me so much with the overall look of the drawing, especially at this colouring stage. I think that without the thicker outlines, it wouldn't have given the kind of layered fur effect that I'd been aiming for. And with all the sharp lines in those areas, it probably would have been quite difficult to actually get the same effects with just the marker shading. Amongst all of this dark shading that I added, I continued to use the highlighter pen and the white Prismacolor pencil to add some highlights. I didn't want the area to look completely flat, especially with the black marker, so I made sure to add some details like ribs and fur with the pencil. Once the werewolf was completed, it was then time to work on the background within the comic panel. Around the outside of the moon, I blended ice blue and sky blue before blending outwards into Prussian blue. For the moon itself, I used buttercup yellow, adding some colouring around the outside and also adding some random patches of colouring throughout. And then I also blended a lighter layer of this colour over the top of it, to add some more detail to it because it kind of looked a bit too flat at this stage. I added some shading with warm grey 1 and added some bright highlights with the highlighter pen. To continue some of that warm buttercup yellow glow, I actually added hints of this marker around some of the highlighted areas of fur as well. Then for the final stages of this drawing, I added lots of highlights to silhouette the werewolf, showing the brightness of the moon. And I also added some saliva to its mouth with the highlighter pen, before also adding some stars in the background. And after that, this drawing was completed. Overall, this drawing took about 6 hours to complete, and I had a huge amount of fun working on this. It's very different than my usual fantasy drawings. I often don't have a very dark background, so it was a nice change to attempt something like this. So please let me know what you think of this in the comments below, and also let me know if you have any suggestions for future videos you'd like to see on this channel. If you want to see more drawing videos like this, then make sure you're subscribed, and any likes or shares on this video, they really mean a lot to me. If you want to follow my progress and see progress photos before I post these videos, then check out the links in the description box below to check out my Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I'll see you all soon.